Oh my god. That's what the Philadelphia Dupe song is? If you put the ball in the net more times than the other team, then you win. Just don't use your hands and don't be offsides. Yeah, soccer's pretty simple if you really think about it. Except, there's one thing that's not so simple. It's culture. Now, I'm not saying that other sports don't have their own unique culture. I'm just saying soccer's different. And to be a soccer supporter, you gotta be a little different. This video celebrates all the weird traditions of MLS and its teams. The traditions that make the culture of MLS truly one of a kind. But before I get into that, remember, if you're a fan of MLS or just curious to find out more about the league, please subscribe for more MLS content. All right, so let's start this off by going out west to Seattle with the March to the Match. If you don't know what that is, it's basically meeting up at the bar before the game, getting a couple drinks in you, and then heading to the streets and marching with your brothers down to the stadium. Okay, I know that other teams have adopted similar traditions since then, like I think FC Cincinnati has like this March to the Bailey, and that's also really cool to see. However, you gotta credit Seattle, because it was the Sounders who were the first to make this really cool. Because back in 2009, just the sheer amount of people that showed up to this thing had never been seen before in MLS. And man, I remember opening night 2009 season, I didn't even know that the MLS season was kicking off. I just got lucky. Like, I turned on the TV and with the Comcast guide, I saw MLS soccer. Sweet. I remember they showed Quest Field in Seattle, packed with fans. And then they did a cutaway to an entire street filled with people marching and banging on drums. Like, it blew my mind. Like, oh my God, there's really 30,000 plus people coming to watch just a regular season game. Remember, this is before Atlanta. I mean, nothing was remotely close to this in MLS back in 2009. It's one of the most vivid memories I have of watching any game. And honestly, it's one of the defining moments for me as a fan of this league. Because like, I didn't really have any friends that watched MLS. It was pretty much just me. And being a fan of Major League Soccer, it felt like a weird niche to be a part of. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's still a niche league. But it was like, oh, okay, there are people out there like me that can get into this. There's a lot of people out there that are like me. And I'll never forget this. I remember right after the game going online and looking up the Seattle Sounders, trying to find out as much as I can about them. And I knew that this was real and it wasn't just going to be a quick fad when I found out that the Emerald City supporters have been doing this March to the Match since 2005, back when they were in USL. Now, I am still yet to experience the March to the Match firsthand, but it's on my bucket list and I am going to do everything I can to make sure I cross it off soon. Okay, now to something that isn't at all unique to MLS, but something I feel that is still worth mentioning. The Tifo. Yeah, Tifos have been around, really first gaining steam all the way back in the 60s and 70s in Europe. So, no, it's not the fact that MLS has Tifos, it's the quality of them. Holy shit. This is awesome. I know, I'm an MLS fanboy, an MLS shill, as some people on Twitter like to call me. You know what? Call me whatever you want. Because some of these Tifos done by MLS teams are up there among the best in the world. You know what always amazed me? Think
about how many hours goes into making these. You've got to come up with the design, draw it, paint it, and choreograph it. And then, game day, you unveil it, show it off for about 30 seconds, and then it never gets seen again. Like, I credit the supporters who make these so much because I wouldn't be able to handle spending all my time on something just to have it shown for a brief moment.
Oh my god, this might be the best idea I've ever come up with. Someone should buy out an abandoned warehouse and make a Tifo museum. Tell me I wouldn't be the only person that would pay $20 to walk through that. Okay, now if you're an expansion team, there is one thing you gotta think real hard about. It's how you're gonna celebrate a goal.
In Philly, you got the Dupe. What is a dupe? What does it really have anything to do with Philadelphia? Turns out, really not that much. Actually, it was their first ever head coach, Peter Novak, who came up with the idea. He met with the supporters group, the Sons of Ben, to come up with a goal celebration song. And after hearing the song he wanted in Germany, Peter Novak and the Sons of Ben implemented it for their first home game, kind of like as an experiment. They saw the fan reaction, and they never took it out after that.
Now, Novak was eventually fired from Philadelphia and was accused of badly mistreating his players. As in, repeatedly insulting them and even making fun of their injuries. So, yikes. But even if he's not exactly a beloved character in the city of brotherly love, the Union couldn't give up their goal song even after Novak left. And I don't blame him, because this song is awesome. I'm not even a Union supporter, and even I will sing along to the Dupe after the Union score.
But, you guys ever actually sit down and watch the music video for Maria, I Like It Loud by Scooter, aka the Philadelphia Dupe song? Yeah, it's interesting.
You've got the Muskets in New England, the Bell in Montreal, the Believe chant in RSL, and maybe my favorite, the Chainsaw in Portland.
Oh, the Chainsaw, so badass, so epic, and the history behind it. You see, the Timbers started off way back in the 70s, back in the NASL. A fan came up with the idea of bringing in a chainsaw into the stadium. He told the owner he would take off the chain so it would be safe, and the owner was like, no, actually, how about you use that chainsaw? And so, Timber Jim was born. He would saw off a slab of wood every time a player would score, and the fans loved it. When Timber Jim retired, Timber Joey took over, and he's been doing it ever since. The victory logs are given out to the players who scored and the goalkeeper if he kept a shutout. After a win, the Timbers players would hold up their slab of wood like a trophy for the Timbers army to cheer. You know, it's the extra things that I love about this league. It's not just win, yay, okay, let's go home. No, adding in the victory logs gives the fans reasons not to leave early and try to beat traffic out of the stadium.
Let's be honest. Some teams want a tradition for the sake of having a tradition. Take Atlanta United and their whole train thing. You got hammering in the golden spike before the game. You got the train horn after the team scores. Hell, even Atlanta United 2 has a train spike going through their badge. If you think about it, there's not really a story behind this all. They just thought, hey, you know what? Trains are a big deal here in Atlanta, and we need something unique for this team. Let's go for it.
I have zero problem with that, because when that train horn blows after a goal, oh my God, Mercedes-Benz, it gets loud, and it is an awesome atmosphere. being said, even though I think it's completely acceptable to start a tradition just because you want to, I will admit that some of the best traditions do happen by accident.
Yep. Talking about you, Minnesota.
Warm up the vocal cords! Cue Wonderwall!
Not gonna lie, when I first found out that Minnesota sang Wonderwall after their wins, I thought it was kind of lame. I thought, man, these guys are trying too hard with this one. And I think a lot of that came from because of where I'm from. I've kind of been conditioned to not like any pro sports teams from Minnesota. And I thought that the Fire and Minnesota United were going to be like these big rivals, and I think I felt obligated to like scoff at anything they do.
Look, I tried to hate it. I really did. But man, when you hear the entire stadium start to sing Wonderwall, it just chills down your spine. Now this, like the Timbers chainsaw, dates all the way back to the beginning of the team, before they were in MLS, and before they were even known as Minnesota United. In the 2011 season, the NSC Stars had an assistant coach, Carl Craig, who was an ex-British punk rocker who once toured with the band Chumbawamba.
And Coach Craig would bring his guitar in the locker room and play songs after his team would win. And his favorite song to play was, you guessed it, Through the Fire and Flames by Dragon Force. Nah, I'm just kidding. It was Wonderwall. And then one time, after a game, a documentary crew captured the entire team singing along to Wonderwall in the locker room after a win. And at the next NSC Stars home game, the supporters began singing Wonderwall after seeing the video on YouTube. When the team heard their supporters singing that song, they joined in. And thus, the tradition of cueing the Wonderwall was started. All because an assistant coach brought a guitar in the locker room.
Okay, one more. And this one is a little extra special because it doesn't get to happen every year. Talking about SKC's Paint the Wall. So after Kansas City wins a cup on home soil, whether it's an MLS Cup or a US Open Cup or a Supporter Shield, although we haven't seen that one yet, the captain of the team heads to the championship wall and spray paints the year of victory. It's a really cool moment, similar to college basketball's tradition of cutting down the nets after the national championship. The term paint the wall actually came from co-owner Rob Heineman when he tweeted out the hashtag paint the wall before the 2012 US Open Cup.
Now, I'm not sure that literally painting the wall was what he had in mind, because the first time the wall was painted after the 2012 US Open Cup win, Jimmy Nielsen just hung up the numbers on the wall, no paint involved. It wasn't until the next year, after they won the 2013 MLS Cup, that the wall was actually painted for the first time.
There's just something about witnessing all your hard work being visualized into an iconic tradition. Yeah, there's the trophy race, that's awesome too, but the simple act of painting the wall, something that is totally unique to your team, that's also really cool to see. There's just one problem I have with this tradition. After the wall is painted, they eventually cover it up and put the real numbers back on. Why? What's the point of that? Just keep it painted. It looks way cooler that way. You have the solid block numbers. Those in a way can pay tribute to the Wizards days. And now everything else that would be spray painted could be a tribute to the Sporting days. I don't know. I just think the spray paint is a really cool touch and, well, maybe I'm alone on this.
Inevitably, there's a lot that I left out. And if you're mad that your team didn't get represented enough in this video, I totally get it. I tried to highlight the most well-known traditions in this league, if that makes sense. But maybe I'll have to make a part 2 of this video someday. This was a fun one to make. It's fun to look back onto what makes MLS MLS. What did you think? What is your favorite tradition of this league? Let me know. And with that being said, please let me know what you want to see a video on next. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.